Lorenzo here, episode 34 of KSP Next. Welcome and good morning. In this episode, we will do more space station stuff. We left the last episode with our space station at 4 crew occupancy. That eats through food really fast. And this is a problem because in our realism overhaul KSP, it actually takes game time to build ships. And because we want to do more than just build and maintain a space station, the time it needs to take to make the smallest resupply ship needs to be less than the time that they eat their food in, and preferably substantially less. Currently, with 1 or 2 Kerbals, this is sort of the case. The small resupply that we've been using takes about 70 days to build, and that gives about a year's worth of food. But if we add 4 Kerbals, that's only about a quarter. Hey, math for you. And that's very close to 70 days. That doesn't leave any margin for error, and it also doesn't leave any time for other cool stuff. Now, we've only been showing the space station, but in the background there's also been some probe launches. They will be featured in subsequent episodes, and of course a bigger launch for a new station, which we will show at the end of the episode. And notwithstanding additional station modules that require big launchers that take longer to build. So we need to take these 3 back to Earth. And that's happening nicely here. We're going through it really quickly. We'll see that more often this episode because, well, these are all ingredients of stuff that we have done ad infinitum before. So we're going to be talking. This is going to be a big picture kind of episode. So these 3 guys, they're back safe. And that leaves a docking port free to launch 1 more scientist. And, of course, a whole new cache of food. That will put the station crew complement at 2 scientists and a bunch of food. That will be good because this launch also carries science equipment. Which is good because I finally did figure out how the mobile laboratory works, and that works by you take science readings, can be of experiments that you've already returned the data for, put the data in the lab, and then have scientists go to work researching it. This will take months and years, but will generate literally hundreds and hundreds of science points. And the good news here that I can tease a little bit, it will be several weeks or maybe even months of real world time, but in one of the next episodes we're gonna have an Orion nuclear pulse drive. It is well within reach. It'll take a few years of in-game research time, but just this laboratory we have the points, and hey, we're building more missions every day, so it's gonna happen. Anyway, here is our scientist Kerbal painstakingly maneuvering to reach the station. You can see he's not a pilot. It takes him a little while to get the hang of the ship, but you know, things work out in the end. Anyway, this is also the reason, by the way, this science stuff, that this is a polar research observatory that will have us cover the entire planet if given enough time. And you can put experiments in the mobile laboratory that you have returned already, but you can't put the same one twice. So we need different results from different biomes. Here, this is a nicely cinematic shot of the ship with the research sensors, the food, and the extra scientist approaching the station, and of course coming in for a docking. This has now become routine operations for our space program. There we are, approaching the docking port and you know, preparing to establish habitation in his new orbital home. Another thing that this space station has done for our program is it has completely eliminated our money woes, because it has been shattering space-time, not continuums, but occupancy records. Every so often during a time warp or a launch or something, I get like, hey, you broke the 180 or 360 day crew in space record. Here's another couple of million credits. So that goes really quickly. Unfortunately, with all the mods I'm running and the space station docking undocking stuff, some glitches have appeared. Like some solar panels won't extend, but that's not that big of a deal because we have enough power anyway. But yeah, it says cannot deploy while stowed, which doesn't make any sense to me. Anyhow, let's call that a growing pain of the nascent space station. So now that we have 2 scientists and 2 ships here, we are going to do a research pass, and after that, this is all going to happen off screen because it's just a lot of time warping around the planet and collecting experiments, which isn't the most exhilarating watching. But let me just introduce that. We're going to be sending 1 scientist back down. We're going to do the bulk of the research with 2 scientists so that it goes faster, but then we're going to focus on building new stuff, and that means, just as I explained before, we need less mouths to feed, and 1 scientist is going back down. So with I think this is about half a year past, we're going to send 1 of the scientists down. Also, something that's nice to show you, the scan planetary mapping radar that I've put on, and you can see here the station's made 7 passes, and because it's in a polar orbit, we will eventually map the whole planet. As you can see here, this is about the half-year time skip that I mentioned previously. So now we are well and truly on our way with the research from this station, and we're going to send 1 of our scientists back home so that this station can go on the back burner a little bit while we focus on the future. Of course, this 1 scientist is still going to do marvelous research. He's got food for about a year and a half's worth, so that's good for the foreseeable future, and he's alone, a little bit lonely, but he's still well and truly capable of cranking out those science points. Here we are powering away from the station and preparing for a Earth re-entry. What I never do is make sense of where the craft is going to land, because live fast and dangerous. And the rescue jets and helicopters and army, basically the whole planet is serving the space program. So wherever it comes down, it'll be fine. Let's see where this one comes down then, shall we? Shall we? Come on, change the scene. Do it. There we go. Yeah, we're coming down like straight over, I think, the North Pole. And the ice looks a little bit dirty, but otherwise it looks nice and polar-y. The descent is something that we currently have got the hang of. I think we have only lost 1 capsule so far in re-entry, and that was because the propellant ran out, so we couldn't even control it. So that was unfortunate. That caused Jebediah to die. He is back in the space roster, but I think that's some kind of imposter. But more importantly, look at the ground. There is some weird-ass mountain down there. I'm gonna swivel the camera in a bit, and I'm gonna put some kind of marker, or maybe our scientist occupant can walk there and have a look at what that is. And you see some re-entering debris, and now just around the area of the nav ball we should be seeing that weird pointy mountain, which is not something I was expecting to see at the North Pole. So maybe at some point we'll try and land near it or send a jet, although I've not designed a jet. That warrants some further investigation, I think. Anyway, proceeding with this landing, there we have another shot of the mountain in the background. Proceeding with this landing and going through the cloud cover, it makes me briefly wonder if we have even landed on Earth. Here, look what I mean. This is the clouds. Okay, clouds, fair enough. We have those on Earth, but look at what kind of alien landscape greets us below these clouds. I'm like, if you told me this was not some like moon of Saturn or Jupiter, I would have believed you. Holy shit, this is not very hospitable looking. At this point, where I'm considering like, hey, can we maybe walk to the weird mountain, and what will our scientists enjoy being in this area? I notice, if you look to the lower right of the screen, we have no one on board. Yes, that's right. This mission, this re-entry designed to take 1 of our scientists back to Earth, failed to bring the scientist. He is sitting pretty in the other capsule on board our space station. Yeah, look at that. There we've got 2 scientists still in orbit, and now we have only 1 rescue boat. So in the event of a catastrophe or a launch mishap with a resupply, they will only have one escape pod, and that's of course not very nice for them on the space station. So the first thing we do is launch a planned resupply mission, take out the pilot from that one, and just launch it robotically as well. This is not something we planned for, and of course it's important to have a satellite uplink to the thing so that it might be controlled, but that turned out to not be a problem at all. We have so much space stuff in orbit, and of course the station itself that it's heading towards, that the uplink was online the whole way. So that's fixed with another launch. Now the station is complete again. We've got two Kerbals, two ships. That's a nice and safe feeling. And of course we're going to send our overdue scientist back home almost immediately, this time definitely on board the ship. So we're going to basically do the same thing again, just this time with a Kerbal there. We're going to do a nice shot of it flying away from the station. I like that, making cinematic shots of spacecraft and space stations. I think that's a good thing to do. Anyway, there goes the 4 engines ready to go. I don't think this time it will actually end up over the pole, because you know that was a crapshoot, and this one is too. There we go, flying away from the space station. Just using the rocket boosters. We don't care about any gases impacting the station. It's strong to withstand that. And there we go, re-entry once again, keeping the G's between 5 and 10, you know, not too weak, not too strong, just right. So resuming, that puts our space station with an extra resupply run at a lot of food for the one scientist, a lot of science data to plow through, so he is a happy scientist for sure. His buddy is now splashing down, and that leaves the space program with time and funds to launch a second station. We're basically going to do the same thing again, except around the moon. Obviously it's a bit further away, so we need a massive honking rocket, and maybe it's not so much as a station, but more of a spaceship with a lab attached. Potato, potato. Here we go. 8 or maybe even 9 Saturn 5 F1 engines blazing, aided by some solid boosters. You can see I really went to town on the thrust to weight here. It's barely lifting off, and it will have to limp into orbit, where the nuclear second stage and final stage will have all the delta V it needs to do whatever it wants. We've got booster SEP, and as you can see, it went horribly wrong there. It's the first launch mishap, but that's not what's going through the minds of our 2 scientists here. They're going pressing all the abort buttons. We're at about 3 kilometers and rising slowly, and from my skydiving I know that will give them about a minute before they are going to be very uncomfortably close to the ground at speed. So they need to get rid of all these rocket bits and deploy their re-entry capsule parachute. I am really happy I put the Kerbals in the capsule and not in the lab, because that would have made things a very, very hectic endeavor indeed. If they even, I doubt they'd be able to survive. So here we go, very precariously dragging our pod away through the debris, and now comes a impact session to see if we destroy our space station, our launch center infrastructure. I sure hope not. There's a lot of fuel and engines and stuff plummeting down, and so far it's not exploded the launch pad. It's exploded a lot, but not the launch pad itself. That would be a bummer. We do have a second pad, but still don't want to have it explode. You can see a nuclear engine just lying there that apparently survived the fall somehow. Its tank now exploding. That's probably a nasty fireball with lots of liquid hydrogen and nuclear material. We'll not look at that. More stuff impacting over there, and we are gently floating to a touchdown just next to the launch mounts. This gives a nice view of actually how big these rockets are. And another piece of debris just not hitting the VAB. Very, very nice. So we had a catastrophic rocket malfunction and everything crashed, but the infrastructure is still intact. That's great. Also the Kerbals lived. And that's the last bit coming down there. Bounce. I'm not sure that's what rockets do when they fall, but this one bounced and then crashed. So that's what we're going to do next episode. We're going to try this again with a little bit of different booster arrangement. For now, thanks for watching. It will be a while for the next one because I'll be traveling for business and then for pleasure, but as always, at some point it will happen. See you later, and for now, enjoy your weekend. Goodbye.